Quiana Stanley is here today, one of our artists, and I think I want to give the opportunity for Quiana Stanley to kind of talk about yourself. Like, we want to kind of hear what your work is and kind of figure out what those inspirations are, and we'll get deeper into the conversation.
All right, sounds good. Hey, I am, I guess, a multifaceted artist. I kind of just pull whatever's closest to me, but I studied printmaking in college. And so I try to like incorporate pieces of that while also doing like some collage and like mixed media art as well. And I think my inspiration just pulls from different struggles with mental health as well as like my spiritual journey. So I like to depict those two things a lot. And yeah, I've always loved art, probably since I was a kid. I love art, I love music, I love poetry, anything creative. I tried skateboarding for a little while, busted my butt a couple of times, but I feel like even that is like a bit of a creative expression too. I never learned any tricks, but
So
you know.
I think today, obviously, we're here to kind of, also as a theme, to kind of celebrate women and phenomenal women that are here as artists, but also we're here to celebrate the conversation around social justice in the summer of 2020. And BLM, and what does that mean for Black Lives Matter in the grand scheme of the work? You brought up two specific things that we saw that happened with COVID, this change around mental health. And for a lot of individuals, that isolation space created opportunities for folks to kind of become more spiritually grounded, or actually kind of explore that idea. Like, how has that kind of inspired you or fueled you in the work that you've kind of created kind of going forward?
Yeah. So sometimes I feel guilty about this, but like my COVID experience wasn't like, it didn't, I know for a lot of people it's very hard to be isolated like that, but I enjoyed the freedom of the schedule. I don't know, something about working, I'm sure everybody experienced something about working is just, it can really take a lot from you, especially when you're spending 40 plus hours in a space and being a creative individual. It's hard to balance those energies. So when I felt that relief in my schedule, I was outdoors more. I was kind of like enjoying that extra space in my day. So so yeah, it allowed me to kind of just like be with myself a little bit more and learn a little bit deeper of what's going on with me.
And so I think as a helpful kind of strategy, and I think it becomes important. I've saw a lot of individuals that kind of like became pro counseling, we become pro, not say pro art, but also individuals are finding other ways to express themselves, specifically during COVID and specifically during BLM, and those expressions. When you talk about being able to find oneself, like, talk about that as a process and also kind of connect that to your art.
So I guess finding oneself, I've always been curious on why I do things the way I do things, or just like behavioral patterns. I feel like I've always like sought that out. Like, like I noticed that I act a certain way around certain situations. I don't know, like I find psychology and just behavioral patterns very interesting. And so yeah, I think I use art as a way to express things that I tend to, kind of keep to myself and I don't really share with people. So I guess that's where like the mental struggles come into place, because when you've learned to just be fine all the time, it really takes a toll on you, a lot of internalization. So I feel like art and visual art really helped me to express the things that I wasn't sharing with other people.
Okay, I think that's a good segue. So we talked about mental health, and I think I've been good at asking good questions.
Yeah.
So would you say, or as an expression, your artwork, is that a different personality?
That's a good question. Is that a different
I'm here for that.
personality? Yeah. I guess yeah. In a way, it is kind of like a different aspect that I'm not sharing with people up front. So it's like, yeah, it's a completely different version of myself where I think a lot of the times people find me very like energetic or like, I don't know, and very welcoming. And so I think it's really kind of, I guess, scary and just interesting in a sense that I enjoy laughter and I enjoy having a good time so much, but in the same moment, I could still like just have these dark thoughts swirling around my head or memories of something unenjoyable happening in my life, you know? So yeah, it is this, there's this duality to it. And so, yeah, it kind of is a different personality.
So I'll actually, so I think it's on a loop. So our previous artist came up, and we talked specifically about kind of how do we take up space and not just kind of just falling into a system, not just conforming or capitulating to spaces, but recognizing that there are certain expressions that need to be present. When we talk about that mental health space and recognizing that there is a person that's showing up that could be the representative, and there's a person that's also being expressed in this more authentic way through the art. How do we merge these things? And I think as a mental health conversation around just people in general, even Women's Month, like how do we kind of talk about these two warring ideas, the Boysian with the feminist perspective, come together to have a dialogue?
Yeah, so I think part of that merging is allowing yourself to be vulnerable in like safe spaces. You know, finding people that'll listen, because you can't just go up to anybody, you know, because you can't just trust anybody on the street with your info. Although sometimes people do, but yeah, I think therapy too. I think like just learning how to integrate the darkness and the light, for lack of better terms. Yeah, there's so many different ways to kind of, I guess, heal in a sense. There's a healing that has to go along with it too. And people talk a lot about self-love, and you have like surface level self-love, but you could always take that journey deeper.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, I think part of that is just learning what patterns no longer serve you. If you find yourself in a pattern, learning what behaviors no longer serve you, and kind of just allowing yourself to grow and detach from the way your mind has learned to protect itself from hurt.
You hitting all the points. You using all the words. Yeah, I mean, and I think this becomes important as not just as inspiration, but as young developers and advice. So in the way that you think about the relationship between the two selves warring or kind of like disassociating certain personalities that need to be there, finding spaces of healing. And I think this is kind of part of the human condition. How would you suggest kind of helping and using art as therapy, as a space for young individuals dealing with these same things?
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
Yeah. So many thoughts just went through my head. I think Alana was saying in the previous interview is just allow yourself to create, just do it, just go for it. And I think that's kind of a part of it too, where you know, creating a space for like young people to express themselves however they feel fit. You know, giving a voice to whatever they're going through. I think just having something and letting them know that whatever you create, no matter the outcome, I think that's a big thing for me, and I think that's a big thing for a lot of people, is that we have an idea and we get so focused on the outcome and how it has to be or how it has to be perceived that we forget about the process. And it's really the process that's the most important part. Yeah. When you allow yourself to let go and just kind of go with the process, you enter this state of flow, and I believe that state can be like very healing.
I got another one for you.
Yeah.
So, with that, what does it mean when that transformative unification happens between those two selves? And more so, even if, when you start to see it in your work, you're like, oh shoot, I'm touching on things. I'm like, I wasn't supposed to be talking about this.
Yeah. I think it just means like, I guess that I don't know if it's like well, I was gonna say this old concept of enlightenment, but like the spiritual concept of enlightenment, just self-actualization. Yeah, when you have that integration of freedom, in a sense, my piece is kind of like inspired by that concept of freedom, and yeah, just kind of doing things even when you're afraid, I think is really important. So when you're working with yourself to kind of be healed and kind of move through life in a way that you haven't before, as a fully integrated person, yeah, I think that gives you more freedom to have the life that you want to live.
So, like, fully, you use the word fully integrated, like within one's own self. And I think
Yeah.
I actually in the beginning, like, which piece was yours? So we see the no fear. Um, in the creation of that, was this the personality or was this aspirational?
I think it's both. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely both, because there's the aspiration of no fear, but you can't really ever ever get rid of it. It's kind of, it's something, in a way, in some senses it keeps you alive, but in some senses it kind of kills you too. So there's, like, even with that concept, there's still like a battle, and everything is balanced. So yeah, there's this aspiration of having no fear, and you could have it in moments where you're pushing through and you're fighting for something, but throughout your lifespan it's always going to come back up. You're always going to have to face it, and I don't think you ever really become unafraid fully. You just kind of become more brave to do the things that once scared you.
I love that. I love that. So, where do you see your work going now? Or where is it at and where is it going in terms of your kind of the flow?
Yeah. In terms of the flow, I guess just being able to create things quicker. I think, like, going back to this concept of fear and being stuck on outcomes, and not enjoying the process and flow. I think with this piece, I created it last night. So I had the idea, and then I was proud of myself and at the way that I executed the idea, because there's been times where I have the idea, but then I'm always second guessing myself. I was like, oh wait, do I really want to do it? Like, how's it gonna look? Do I add this element, or do I take it away? Like, will other people like that I had that element, or is it gonna be too much? And I just didn't really have that with this. I just kind of like was able to be in flow and get it done and be able to share it with people. So I think, yeah, I want more of that.
You did a great job being visible, and we just met today.
Thank you, thank you.
So we're gonna move it to the audience. Any questions from the audience?
I think, well, when I was younger, I wanted to be an actress, and my mom was like very proficient with, like, kind of allowing us to explore our creative endeavors. So I remember taking art classes during the summer and like doing like a little like No Fear Shakespeare. So I think those are like my early like beginnings, where my mom like was like, oh, kid's creative. And my mom is also a creative person as well. She writes poetry. Shout out to mom. But yeah, I think my mom had a lot to do with that. Thanks. Yes.
Do you believe that as an artist, sharing your art publicly with the rest of the world requires an element of vulnerability?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think this is my second show. My first one was last month, and I think prior to that, I was so in my head about all my artwork. And I think through just like the spiritual journey of like healing and through therapy, I've been kind of able to let go of that, I guess, shyness and just like isolation of being afraid to have people see me and being afraid to show people my artwork. So it's definitely vulnerable, but yeah, I kind of decided that it was time. I didn't want to be afraid anymore. I think like, I guess on theme, on topic, a lot of it is just, I guess, mental health and just kind of like withholding a lot of different things in, just feeling insane. So it's just like I got to get it out some way, or it's just gonna like kind of explode in other unproductive, unhealthy ways. So I think, yeah, just I kind of like weird things. I like creepy things. I also like fun, psychedelic looking things. Yeah, I love the mysticism of life. I love that you kind of get to explore and create life at any given moment. Well, I guess with the knowledge of other people are not always in the circumstances to be able to kind of get the life that they want. But I think with me, I'm acknowledging like I do have that freedom. So yeah, just being able to explore life and acknowledging battles and struggles. Thanks.
I appreciate the questions from the audience. So as we kind of wrap up, takeaways. So in talking to the current audience that's there, young developers that will watch, folks that will be at the part 2, what are some important things that are takeaways that you kind of seen as helpful gems for you to kind of continue to move through the artwork and just navigating space?
Trying to think. We talked about like so many different things. I think just have like compassion for yourself. Like no matter what you're going through, just have a little bit of compassion for yourself and kind of like push yourself to work through your fears and work through your struggles. Life is constantly ebbing and flowing, and you can find goodness and peace even when you're experiencing, I guess, darkness.
Can I give them the social media? And social medias?
It's QUI_AHHH_NA. That's Instagram.
With another episode, another phenomenal artist, we are out.